Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for what we want to be a very casual, interactive, informal session. This is not a tour de force presentation. It was our sort of normal fare for webinars. This is really kind of a little bit of a kick the tires opportunity for Toronto ULI members and non-members alike to see what we're cooking up here as an opportunity for a delegation to attend the ULI conference in Europe, as well as a special made for Toronto delegate tour component that you'll be hearing about in a second. So this is and we're using this. The session is, of course, in June, so that's still what 4 or 5 months out from now. But if we're going to get people to do it, they're going to need to start planning right about now to make that happen. And so we want to kind of assess the level of interest from Toronto. Do we have a critical mass of people that makes doing this makes sense? I think critical mass probably looks like something like 15, 20 people, maybe upwards of 25. We definitely don't want it to be too large, keep it small and intimate. So and we're also hoping that that we have a 25 to 40% of the attendees might even be public sector from different levels of government, because as you will see, the idea behind particularly the Toronto special Toronto tour component is to bring back some ideas that might contribute to our affordable housing crisis, addressing our affordable housing crisis through public infrastructure investment. So more about that in a short bit. Okay, so let's move through some slides, and then I'm going to turn over to our Europe colleagues who are in the UK, I think, but to take us through the main fair, which is the conference, and then we'll come back and talk to you a little bit about the special Toronto piece. But a few slides first. So if you could advance, whoever's got the slides. I think that's Alex. Yeah, this we don't want to put this slide in. I think that many of you would know that the Urban Land Institute is increasingly a global, and has been for some time, organization with a global footprint that generally has been growing, including ULI India most recently in the last 12, 18 months has added to the family of countries that are part of the network. And so very much wanting to leverage the global nature of this network by doing things like this delegation. So that's all we wanted to show you there. Next slide. We have done some, but not a lot, study tours in the past. One that we did to Europe was actually attending another ULI conference. It was the Sea Change Conference, which is actually happening again in June in London. But this was just the Sea Change component, and the one in London is going to be a bigger conference, and you'll hear about that in a second. But this, some images from a really great delegation of about 15 or so people back in 2023. Next slide are a couple of just examples of more local tours. Hamilton and Prince. That's fine. Hamilton. We did last year, and more recently this fall in Prince Edward County, we took a delegation there to look at some of what's happening in a rural context, but with urbanness, city, decidedly urban focused companies doing work in this particular rural context. And there's going to be more of those happening, I think, over time. And so we wanted to kind of check out that situation. So that was another example of a tour. Next slide. Oh yes. Okay. So I'm going to right now, maybe if you could quickly, Alex, maybe just go to the calendar. My apologies. I should have caught that. I want to show the week, and then I'm going to bring Jonathan and Beth in. So that's a few slides for there. Okay. So just want to just before we go there, So these are the dates that we are organizing around. You'll see on the Monday, it's all Canada all the time. We're working with Arcadis, Arup, and BDP Quadrangle, who will be speaking as well, augmenting what I'm talking about when we come to that part of this session. But the main fair, as mentioned, is really 2.5 days. Probably minus one dinner, which will be a Canadian dinner on the Tuesday. But otherwise, most of what you see here on the screen is organized by our colleagues from ULI Europe. And a kind of an optional possible thing that we might do end of day Thursday. Although we think by the time you've done 3.5 days of ULI programming, you may be saying that's enough, or you may have some private meetings you want to be doing with your time on Thursday afternoon. But we're holding that as maybe a possibility to augment your time there. So with that, let's go backwards again, and I'll introduce my colleagues and Alex's colleagues. So Beth Beeson, who's Vice President of Events and Programs, ULI Europe, and Jonathan Jennings, Vice President of Marketing and Communications with ULI Europe as well. And I just grateful that this is not the first time we've asked of them to do this. And there's a lot of district councils outside of Europe that knock on your door. So you're very, very gracious to give us the time and attention to help make this a success. So with that, I think we will go off sharing screens. And I think that Beth, you and Jonathan have some slides that you'll drive for the next little bit. Thank you.
Richard, thank you. Beth, shall I share screen? Okay, hopefully everyone can see this. Richard, thank you for the warm welcome and greetings and good morning to everyone else. I'm just going to take you through a couple of slides just to give a very brief overview of ULI Europe and what it means to be part of that, and hopefully sets the scene a little bit more for what you can expect when you come and enjoy what will be a fantastic conference in June. So, 1 second. Right. So ULI Europe was founded in the mid-90s. Actually, it was a team from the US who used to come over, I believe, every month to run a networking event in Brussels. So that's where it started almost 30 years ago. It's quite an incredible story. And to this day, we've grown to over 5,500 members. And they form the heart of everything we do. It is an amazing community we have in ULI Europe, as it is with the rest of the globe as well. Obviously, a big part of that is the corporates, and to this date, I believe we have just over 300, and they play a pivotal part in obviously contributing towards all the great programs that we see and all the sort of content that we get for these events as well. A big part of this is obviously our national councils, and that is spread across 16 countries to date. I do apologize for the font being quite a light color. It wasn't that way when it was dropped in. But Poland, Spain, France, Germany, and Netherlands and the UK are the bulk of our memberships at the moment. And we are growing emerging countries at the moment. We've recently taken on Portugal as well as a new national council, and we've actually just gone into the Czech Republic as well. So there's lots of growth opportunity and lots of opportunity depending on your own sectors and where you work outside of the US and Canada to actually go in and engage with further networking opportunities. Another big part of ULI Europe is obviously our programs. We have 3 key programs that we work with. One is Sea Change, which is where we lead in decarbonisation within the real estate sector. This is green is such great traction at the moment, and for those of you that went to the Sea Change Summit, you'll already be aware of that. And I'm sure Beth will touch on the Sea Change element of this year's conference. We have the Global Emerging Trends, which is in conjunction with partnership with PwC. We are launching that at MIPIM European, but there will obviously be a presence of that at the conference this year as well. And I think, as everyone's aware, we have the Global Heinz Student Competition, which has been going on for many decades and is a success to these days as well. But all three programs are instrumental into driving change within the real estate industry. And there's many, many programs we can go through, but these are just three key areas for Europe. And this is just a cross section of some of our corporates. I think it's really important that you guys have visibility of who our global corporates are, and a lot of these names you will recognize. But it's also an opportunity when you come to the European conference to engage with corporates that you wouldn't normally have visibility or the opportunity to have engagement with. This is just a cross section. There's another 100, 150 of these that will be available to connect with during the event. And we've actually today had a meeting. We're putting a platform in place that will enable those coming from overseas to better engage face to face once they're in London, and details of that will follow for those of you who do decide to come and join us. And then some brief data on last year. It was a successful event, as it always is. We're again expecting 800 to 900 delegates. Most of them will be senior decision makers within their respective fields, and over 30 countries will be represented. And as you can see on the right, that's a breakdown from the attendees over the past couple of years. We expect that to be the same, Beth, more or less, in line with what's been going on before. Hopefully, it gives you a bit of a flavour for what you can expect when you come to our event. So with that, Beth, I will pass over to you, and please let me know when you want me to steer on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jonathan, and thank you everyone for your time today. We really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you, and we would love to welcome you in London at our conference. So I really hope that we can make this work together. And Richard and Alex, thank you as well for the opportunity to speak to your members. We're delighted. Yeah, I thought I'd just give a bit of an overview of the conference as a whole to give you an idea of how it looks, the feel, the experience, what's included, what's not. So a little bit on the logistics as well as sort of the programming and what to expect over the week. But as mentioned, we're in London, 16th to the 19th of June. So we'll be hosting activity over those 4 days. And really, the idea is, as with any of our conferences, to showcase the city. And we're super excited to be in London. The last time we hosted the conference in London was in 2019. So things have changed a little bit since then. And, we really want to utilize and showcase our members in the UK, as well as sort of wider in Europe. So as we approach the Europe conference this year and to look at sort of our key priorities, we put together our advisory committee to really help us with 3 core areas, which was the sponsorship and partnerships, local knowledge, helping us with the site tours and venues and our product council meetings, and also to help us put together a really strong program of really fantastic speakers. And I just listed the committee members there. They're on our website as well, but just so you can see who's been involved in the planning side of this as well. Next slide. Thank you, Jonathan. So the schedule of events, I know Richard spoke about this briefly at the beginning, but just to sort of give you an idea of how it looks across the week, we start on the 16th in quite a small way. A lot of people are still traveling, arriving that morning, and we really kick off in the afternoon with our Sea Change for Housing Forum. And this is a new program of ours. It's built from our Sea Change program, our decarbonisation program, and we've actually received a grant from a foundation this year to host this and run this program for the next 3 years. So it's about bringing 2 of our mission priorities together. So decarbonisation and addressing housing affordability and attainability. So it's looking at how we can deliver more housing in a sustainable manner. So it's very new for us. This will be our launch platform at the Europe conference, our first activity on it. I don't have a huge amount of information on it at the moment because it is, as I say, very, very new for us. But it is something that we're super excited about for the next 3 years, and we'll really be focusing on, and is a core program for our research and content team to be delivering. And then in the evening, we have our product council dinners. These are separate dinners where the product councils get together, very informal, and we'll have dinner together. But we really sort of kick off our activity on the Tuesday, the 17th of June. So we host our product council meetings across a Tuesday, and I'll speak about them in a little bit more detail shortly. We also host site tours. So the site tours are site tours separate from what's happening in terms of the product council meetings. These are our main conference site tours. We run 4 to 5 of them to key regen projects across London, and these are part of the conference ticket. There's no additional fee to pay for these to attend. So anyone can join these. They are just on a first come, first served basis. So people can sign up to them as they register for the event, and I'll speak about them a little bit more as well. We have a number of forums and roundtables happening. The global board meeting will be in London this year. So we'll be hosting our global board in London. We host our governing trustees as well. And then in the evening, we have a welcome reception, which is again included in the conference ticket, open to anyone who is attending the conference. And we have our leadership awards dinner, which is an invite only event. It's a much smaller capacity for that one. And Wednesday's our main conference day. So this is where we have our main conference program. We run all of our sessions as plenary sessions, keynote sessions on the main stage. We don't have separate breakouts happening across the day. So this is when we bring all of our 800 to 900 guests together for those big keynotes all in one place. And then we have the catering and networking sort of happening around that. We put on a couple of little extra programs like our Meet the Speakers lunch. So this runs throughout the lunch. You need to sign up for it in advance. Again, we only have limited availability at it, but it's an opportunity to join a table that one of our speakers is hosting to talk about, a specific topic of their interest. And again, that's available for sign up when you register, and again on a first come first served basis, no additional fees. And then in the evening we have our conference reception and dinner, our main conference reception and dinner, which is open for everyone. So we bring everyone together for that. Thursday is a little bit more low-key by this point. As Richard said, there's a lot of ULI activity happening. So we have a couple of forums taking place in the morning, which is our Sea Change Forum. So as Richard mentioned, we host our Sea Change Summit once a year in the autumn. It was in Copenhagen a couple of years ago, Barcelona last year, and we'll be in Paris this year. We also host a number of workshops related to that summit and for all of our Sea Change program work that we're doing. So that will be happening on the Thursday morning. And we also host an emerging trends in real estate roundtable. It's our first roundtable as we sort of look to our next report, which will be launched in November, of course. So that's where we start to get all feedback and ideas from our members. And then we also host our Young Leaders and Next forums on the Thursday as well. So those will be happening. As mentioned, there's no additional costs for anything that's part of that you can see here other than our product councils, which I'll go into in a moment. Next slide, please, Jonathan. So what does our program look like? One of the things that we get asked all the time in Europe is, what is your theme for your conference program? We actually don't have a theme because we have so much happening across the week in terms of our roundtables and forums and product councils that a lot of those specific topics are picked up throughout those. So we just tend to sort of stay to sort of big picture themes, the topics that are really impacting our industry and business sort of every day. So as you can imagine, sort of the big themes are, and sorry, Jonathan, if you wouldn't mind going on to the next slide. We have, a big session on geopolitics. We always open with that. And we've got a fantastic keynote speaker confirmed for that session this year, who is Bronwyn Maddox, the CEO of Chatham House. She's a brilliant speaker, doesn't do a lot of it because she's so busy in her day job. So we're super delighted that she'll be joining us for this. So she'll be opening, talking about geopolitics, firstly, sort of the impact globally, and then looking at Europe and looking at business, and then a little bit touching on real estate, but it's sort of more bigger picture, as I say. And then following the geopolitics, we normally go into a session around macroeconomics, sort of same thing on the macroeconomic environment and how that is impacting our sort of day-to-day. The rest of the program is made up of sort of, as I say, sort of topics that we're seeing a lot of, our members are asking for. We always do something on capital markets. And again, we've got some fantastic speakers already confirmed to date. Our capital markets panel this year is going to be very much focused on alternative assets. So we're really excited to hear from our speakers on that. We always will have a session around the city and city focus and urban regeneration, how the public and private sector are working together. So we'll be bringing in some UK specific speakers and some Europe-wide speakers to input into that. We will look at something around technology and energy as well. So we will looking at a session around that, and then we have a closing keynote. As I say, we sort of just go for the big sort of panels and plenaries sessions. We don't have breakouts, so we stick to those sort of big themes impacting the day. And if you could go to the next slide, please, Jonathan. And then the additional events that are happening around the program. As you know, the site tours are a massive part of our program. We host a lot of them as part of our product council meetings. And then, as mentioned, we have 4 to 5 that we'll be covering on the main conference program. Again, part of the ticket, it's just on a first come, first served basis. We're looking at the big, urban regen projects that are impacting London at the moment. So we're excited to be working with British Land and Art Invest on Canada Water. So we'll be hosting tours there on the Tuesday. And again, the next slide, please, Jonathan. And then we're also in talks with Canary Wharf to be doing a tour with Wood Wharf, with Battersea and Nine Elms. It's a huge regen project as well. And King's Cross, while it's not a new one, it's still an exemplar that the industry looks to all the time and is continually growing. It's bringing the whole academic and life sciences and education part of it as well. So it just continues to evolve, and we think there's still a really fascinating story around King's Cross. We're still working on the programming of the site tours with the developers. So there'll be more information for these sort of in the coming month or so, but those are the ones that we will be hosting as part of the main program. I spoke a little bit already about the roundtables and sessions, and then obviously the networking events as well. And then if we could just move on, please, Jonathan. One thing I just thought to highlight, actually, is we're really excited. Our conference dinner, which again is for, as I say, for everyone. So we have around 800 people attending. It's a sit-down 3-course dinner, and we're really excited to be hosted at the Tate Modern this year. It's obviously an iconic London venue. It's quite hard to host a dinner there because they always have exhibitions in place. There's only a number of months in the year that they let it out for events. So so it's something that we're really excited about hosting. And as I say, again, part of the ticket, it's not additional. And then if we could just move on. And our product council meeting days. So I spoke about this with Richard and Alex a lot as well. And the opportunity is there to join our product council meeting days as well. And you can see the list of our product councils there, which we've got a couple of new ones this year as well, which we're really excited for. There is an additional guest place cost, and as with the product council meetings, across all of our regions, any guest places do have to be approved by the co-chairs of the councils. They never normally say no, so they're usually very much happy to welcome people, but we do have to go through that process and make sure that they are comfortable, that the makeup of the group is the right makeup and adding to the conversation. So we're working with all the council chairs at the moment on their agendas, and more details sort of will be available throughout our website and in due course. But there is absolutely, as I say, the opportunity to be able to join one should you wish. And then I think we're just getting into a few bits of just the pricing. We have an early bird on at the moment. So our price, our sort of standard price for the private sector, we have a number of rates, of course, but is just over €2,000. So, as I say, it's an all-inclusive price. So there's nothing sort of further to pay for other than product council meetings on top of that, and then obviously any activity that's being hosted by ULI Toronto, of course. But in terms of the conference ticket price, it's all inclusive. So our prices are on there, and that early bird rate is until the 28th of March, so towards the end of March, until prices start to go up slightly from that. And then just on the next one, and our conference venue, we're at the Royal Lancaster Hotel, which is just at the top of Hyde Park. It It is only for the one day, so we are only at this venue on the 18th of June, but that will be hosting us for our main conference day, our keynote sessions, and our catering and networking as well. And I think just our final, is it the final slide? It's just a little bit of a promo slide engaging with us. But as I said, I really just wanted to go over what to expect, what's included, where we're at the moment. Some of the details are still being worked out at this stage, as of course you can imagine, but really happy to answer any questions that anyone may have, of course.
Well, great. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Jonathan. That I think is a great insight into what's on offer for the main course for those who might be thinking about attending. I recognize that some of you may not know have heard the term product council. Some of you very familiar with it, but I think it was sort of self-explanatory. These are they operate in different parts of the global network. There's product councils here in North America, and obviously, as you just saw, in Europe. Very interesting kind of collection of senior leaders. They're probably about 25 to 40 in numbers, and in North America, they're extremely sought after to be on a product council, or even as Beth mentioned, as a guest on a product council, but they do run very autonomously. They're part of our system, of course, but they run their own show to a large degree. So, but as Beth had mentioned, for the most part, if someone from, say, Canada was going to be in London and was interested in, good chance that we could help get a guest spot into that, but no guaranteed. But that's one thing. Maybe just before we go to the other part of this delegation offering, just see if there's any questions. I did see one from Mark Richardson online. Mark, do you want to just go off mute and or maybe even camera even, and just ask your question?
Sure. I'm Mark Richardson, in my natural habitat, a giant
Mm-hmm.
empty parking lot that should be affordable housing. I'm very involved in ULI Toronto and with the Twilliger Center in DC. I've been on the affordable housing jury for a couple of years. And I'm honestly trying to make a decision between your conference and the London Housing Conference that the Centre for London is running at the end of April. I'm trying to figure out which is the more appropriate place for me to land. I see that you have your affordable housing council, which seems to overlap with a lot of the stuff that Twilliger would do around workforce housing and below market rental housing. I'm just trying to, actually, Angie, Jim, I saw is in there, and I sent her team an email last night because when they were in Toronto last year, we took them on a tour of big dump parking lots that should be housing.
Yes, hi, Mark.
So just trying to figure out, I'm only going to make one trip to the UK this year, which is the better fit for the kinds of housing that we are interested in visiting, talking about. I know a lot of your regeneration sites, like along the Elizabeth line and stuff that we visited in the past, are probably much further along now. Is that the kind of content we're going to be talking about at your conference, or will it be more pure market housing?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix, to be honest, Mark. And I think we've got Ali on the line. I don't know, Ali, if the Affordable Housing Product Council have shared much more on their agenda so far, but we will be, yes, we will be talking about it, but it probably not in like so much detail, just because, as I mentioned, we have a lot going on and we have sort of those big picture topics that we cover. But specifically, we have our Sea Change for Housing program, which I just spoke about, and we can send you a little bit more information on that, because it is very new to us, and it is, as I say, we're launching it at the Europe conference.
Is affordability part of that Sea Change model, the passive house and green and affordable standards and all that stuff? Okay.
Exactly. It's purely that. So our Sea Change for Housing program came about, it's being funded by the Foundation Laudes. And it's very much about how we can build affordable housing, social housing in a sustainable manner. You know, we need to deliver more affordable housing, but by delivering more housing, we need to make sure that our, you know, carbonization is increasing too. Like, how can we do that in the right way? So that's the focus specifically for that program. I'll let Ali jump in a moment on the affordable housing. We're also speaking to a number of government officials to have them represented on the main program. I can't tell you whether they're going to be there today. And you know what it's like, they sometimes commit and sometimes they turn up, sometimes they don't. So we might not hear till sort of a bit closer to the time. So that's something that I cannot guarantee. But if we do so, the approach has all been on housing. So that's been, you know,
so I'll put my contact info into the chat, and I think maybe we just take this conversation offline, and
definitely.
And we can figure out whether it's an appropriate fit or whether I look at the other conference instead.
Well, and Mark,
Exactly.
just I wanted to see if there's any more questions about the conference elements of it, but we're going to toggle in a second over to the Monday, which is being designed specifically around affordable housing for Canadian delegates. And that's being shaped by our partner companies, as we'll bring back in a second. If there's interest, and this is a testing you know, moment to see, and we'll probably follow up with an email. If there is, you know, a critical mass of people who want to do this, then we'll take the next step. But we'll certainly be happy to get some of your questions around how do we inform that Monday program, so that it will give you a lot. So that's another piece of it. So
the Places for London folks, which is a relatively new organization spun out of Transport for London, overlaps a lot with Create.to and the Canada Public Lands Bank and all of the things that we're trying to leverage on our side. And often going to another Commonwealth country where you have the same kind of government.
Why don't we just jump over to some other questions, and then it sounds like we'll definitely follow up both Europe and ULI Toronto. Any other questions on the conference piece, and then we'll move into a little bit of telling you what we're trying to do. I hoping not to take up the entire hour, but we'll use any other questions. I see Susan, you come off camera. Yeah.
Hi. Thanks for this, Richard. Just wondering, Beth, if you have a sense of when the final program might be available. I think our leadership just might be keen to have a little bit more information while they're considering this.
Yeah, so we usually aim to have our program all finalized by the end of March. So we were looking for the next 4 weeks. It might be a little bit sooner, but I wouldn't want to promise that. So I would say to the end of March.
I should have said at the beginning too, for Beth and Jonathan, that because this is something that requires a longer planning window for people attending from outside of Europe, we're doing this now. But we're also recognizing that doing this now is a very, very early moment still for a lot of the details that are coming into place. So we've kind of put Beth and Jonathan in a little bit of a awkward spot, because I know that these details don't normally all crystallize for yet at some time. So Susan, I hopefully we'll be able to informally or one way or another just keep giving you some detail. But also to the other piece, we'd love to talk to you about what would Create want to see if you were to bring folks over. Have Create.to, for Beth and Johnson's purposes today, is I guess an agency of the City of Toronto, responsible for leveraging city land to create affordable housing and other housing supply. So I don't know if I did a great job of describing who you are,
good, Richard. Yep.
Anyway, so Susan, we'll talk to you more about that side of the offering as well.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, we can take that offline. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan.
Any other questions? Okay, so maybe if Alex, you could just put that. I don't know, we didn't need it up for very long, but just that one slide that shows the day of. So, well, first, maybe go to the calendar slide. That's what I'm thinking about. Sorry. And the previous slide showed, and so does this, that we've tapped 3 of our great partner companies who operate locally. Obviously, these are familiar names to us all in Toronto, but are also very active in Europe and UK and London specifically. So we've asked these leaders of these companies, who some of representatives of which are on this call now, to help us think about a very specific lens of London that we want to look at, and that's, as mentioned, is around affordable housing. And obviously, London's not a hallmark for affordable housing any more than Toronto is, but I think in many ways has over some time leveraged the investments of public infrastructure, transit especially, to find ways through various mechanisms of land value capture and so forth. And I'm not the expert in this, as I'm revealing, to create affordable housing. I think in ways that we haven't fully achieved here in our city region, certainly in recent decades. So we wanted to explore the synergy of public infrastructure investment and working with public entities and private companies, the ability to achieve affordable housing. And so I'm wondering at this point, and this is very informal, so I'm kind of putting our partners on the spot a little bit. If anybody from Arcadis and Arup and BDP are on the line, want to just speak a couple of seconds, maybe to what I just described, just to put a little more meat on the bones, and then this will, bring us to a wrap up in terms of this sort of open house. But of course, if there's some more questions, so maybe go off camera, take the screen off, just so we can just go on to. Thanks, Alex. Audrey, do you want to take a crack, or am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Richard, and hello, everyone. Nice to meet you virtually, and hope to meet you in person in June. I think what we wanted to ensure, first of all, was that whatever initiative we took collectively or independently was that we weren't going to be duplicating the tours that are going to be offered, because I'm sure that those tours are going to be magnificent, and we don't want to double up on that. But our focus, we wanted to make sure that we were going to be really, for the Canadian or the Toronto delegation, would be to really understand the lessons learned, what really worked, what really didn't work, and why not. And also kind of the delivery of, like, how do you deliver affordable housing? We all struggle with it, and I'm sure that there are some lessons learned. So we would definitely be looking to our other ULI's other corporate partners here to deliver something that was really meaningful to the Toronto delegation. We've got some boots on the ground in London that have a lot of experience, so we would definitely draw from that. And I've got my colleague Maya Nesdale also on the line too. So I guess next.
Yes, perfect. Well, Ozzy, did you want to add something? And maybe Nancy, I think you're the Arup rep for this, so maybe Ozzy, then Nancy, if you want to just add on to anything that Audrey just mentioned. Ozzy. Oh, you're on mute. Yep.
I was just trying to find you on mute there. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us to get some information from this session. Hopefully, it'll encourage you to take a trip to London. I know I'm D1, been in Toronto for 5 years now, and I think from that time, this is an area and a topic that I have discussed with Richard and Alex in the past. So to have the opportunity to be able to bring a delegation from Toronto to London to talk specifically to issues around, infrastructure-driven development and affordable housing is a great opportunity. I think not just for Toronto delegates that go there, but also for their counterparts in London to share on their experiences too. In terms of the opportunity, I think from BDP's perspective, we could certainly provide, I think, tours perhaps maybe around the King's Cross area. I mean, as you probably know, we're lead working in collaboration with Bjarke Ingels and Heatherwick Studios on the Google HQ building. It won't be finished by that time, so it will be a tour around the building and maybe a bit of storytelling around the evolution of King's Cross. It's changed a lot since my first visit there, that's for sure. But we think that maybe that's something that the delegates from Toronto would be interested in. And I think it speaks to a number of issues around this notion of the challenges of office space, the flight to quality, and clearly from Google King's Cross position, that is a very good example of prime office. But on the affordable housing front, I think probably just put this back to ULI as part of the broader discussion. Beth, you'd mentioned that you were speaking to potential partners that could contribute to this conversation. And from my experience in the UK, I know that I had the opportunity to work quite a bit with One Public Estate. And I think that the work that they're doing has been phenomenal in this. I don't know how much they've done in the last 5 years since I moved to Toronto, but this idea of co-locating public sector services to improve the operations that they give to the communities they serve, which at times can often result in leveraging or making assets available that can then be developed to create affordable housing. So I think opportunities like that as case studies would be phenomenal, I think, for ULI to be able to bring to the conversation. Can't say we have that specifically to bring ourselves, but it's clearly an opportunity, and OP are doing great work as part of the local authorities, local governments association in the UK.
Great. Well, thanks, Ozzy, and appreciate your putting on time for this event too. I haven't seen one of those for a while. It's good.
It's not actually for this event. I have another event later
on.
Oh, come on. I thought I would treat ULI to a tie this time around as well. So I put it on this morning and it stuck. But...
Nancy.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining the call, and it's great to meet you all. I guess this is to echo some of the thoughts that have been covered, but it's, you know, exciting opportunity to be involved. I think from the Arab perspective, you know, we're super keen on kind of taking local experience and then thinking about how we can bring in some of the global experience and leverage that to, you know, to grow and to kind of use that as at a local level. So since my time in Toronto, like there's definitely been examples from some of our residential placemaking projects in London that we've been able to leverage at a local perspective. So I think just using that, working in collaboration with the team, it's there's a very exciting opportunity here to kind of think about lessons learned, things that have worked well. In terms of the experience we bring, we have work in Stratford, again, similar to BDP, King's Cross, and we have Ebury Estate as well, which has like an affordable housing component. So I think just, you know, using that knowledge and thinking about how we can apply it to Toronto.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Audrey, Ozzy, Nancy. And for those who are, you know, joining into, you know, this session, you can see that we've got some great horsepower, international horsepower with both Toronto and London, you know, as someone said, boots on the ground experience that will really, I think, help us ferret out some really interesting content that would be designed to say, what can we bring back to Toronto? This, I mean, this piece of this delegation opportunity is really designed about what can we bring back to our city. We'll probably be by mid-June. We might be likely after the federal election here in Canada, definitely after the provincial election. So this is an interesting moment in time with fresh mandates at both those two levels of government, where big, bold ideas can happen when they can't happen later on in those mandates. So this is a very, I think, interesting moment in time. Obviously, the geopolitical moment that Beth was speaking to is also extraordinary. Not all good, but extraordinary. So I think this is a really well-timed opportunity that I hope comes together. And so next steps as we wrap up here, and if there are any questions, I'll look for hands. But as I wrap up, next steps is we will follow up at ULI Toronto with you and others who are not on this call. We're, of course, recorded this so people could watch this after the fact, and get an assessment of level of interest. Sort of 15 is kind of my sort of threshold. I'd like to think that we had solid 15 delegates wanting to attend, and then I think we can move the gears into more final stage organization for the Toronto piece. And I'd love, 25 to 40% of our 15 to 25 people who would come to be from the city municipal realm, from provincial and federal, if possible. It'd be nice to get some representation from government side as well, to really, see, I think, what might be possible to bring back from a point of view of leveraging public infrastructure investment and to the good of affordable housing. So with that, I think we've laid out for you a pretty comprehensive sense of what's on offer. We will follow up, and we hope that there's great interest as there was for Copenhagen, and if so, onward to a great experience. I'll thank again Jonathan and Beth in particular, though, just really, you've been terrific. We've asked a lot of you at a time when you're very, very busy. So thank you for this, and we really look forward to seeing you in a few months.
Likewise. Really hope to
Yes,
see you all
thank
there.
you.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay.
Thank you,
All the
everyone.
best, everybody. Enjoy the snow day. We'll see
Bye.
some of you at the social. I hope it's on. Bye-bye.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.